forwarded to the group.
How cool. And one of us will remember.
I get off my
Especially to Noreen.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I'll send it to you, Noreen.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yep. It's me. Yeah, exactly. I think since September 1.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I came up with the idea, it's like, wait a minute, maybe. But like, I think it'll be fine. A pizza on the table.
She
Yeah, what I don't,
recipe.
I mean, kind of, how funny.
We'll see what.
Yeah. Yes. Yep, I'm getting up. George, you said you're ready? All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the Tuesday, September 16, 2025, Monroe Planning Board regular meeting. Noreen, would you please do the roll call?
Lou Revere,
Aye.
Robert Garst,
Here.
Here. With that, I'll point out the fire exits. There are two in front of me to the rear of the audience, one to my left, which is the main entrance exit out of the building, and then another out to the patio. With that, would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the All right, the first item on the agenda is administrative. As our board is aware, Ms. Torre is out on maternity leave, and her firm also disbanded. We decided we would continue on with Ashley. She's gone out on her own. She'll be able to assist us probably until around December when the baby's due. Off for a couple months, and then she will probably be able to continue to assist us until her return. So this is an arrangement that was discussed with the supervisor. We believe it'll work. She's behind the scenes working on the application reviews as well as the giving us notes on where we are in the process. So we're going to give this a shot. So with that, I would like to make a motion to appoint Ashley and Torrey Law, PLLC, as Planning Board Attorney, effective September 1st, 2025, pursuant to the engagement letter dated September 9th, 2025. May I have a second?
Second.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bob Morstadt,
Aye.
Lou Revere.
Aye.
And that engagement letter, just because we're of the year, actually ends her service. Obviously there's an issue, we'll have to address it, but for now, she's extended out to 2026. So with that, first item on the agenda is Golden Delight.
Okay. Good evening. John Queenan with Lankin Tully for the applicant. Also with me is Lipa Deutsch, applicant's representative. We're before you tonight with a request for the Golden Delight Bakery, a site plan that was approved by the board about 6 months ago. And in going through the conditions and working through the various conditions to get them addressed, as well as working with the building department, because this was associated with some violations that occurred. One of the conditions, specifically condition 6, we're asking potentially for the board to revise that. And that condition was, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall provide the building department with written approval from basically Orange County Department of Public Works, Sewer District Number 1, for the lateral connection that was proposed on the plan. We have made application to Orange County Sewer District Number 1 about 6 months ago. We've been following up on that submission, and the Orange County Sewer District has advised us that it could be another 18 months to 24 months before they get to it, and that's not guaranteed that they would ever approve it because of the expansion proposed down at the plant and how allocations will be basically cut up. So in our discussions with Ben, he's concerned that if you never get that, he can never issue a building permit, and work can't be completed to get a CO. So we're kind of stuck in this infinite loop. Our request is if we could change that, and at first I thought certificate of occupancy, but again, I don't want to be down the road where we get to the end and we still don't have this permit and we can't get a CO now, and we're at the same point. So what I'm thinking is, could we simply amend it to say that proof of permit submission to Orange County Sewer District Number 1, since the property already has a functioning septic system, like it's operational now. It's not like the property doesn't have sewer. So as part of the site plan, which it's still shown on the site plan to connect to the county, and the owner will do that, and the recourse that the town has is that it's shown on the plat to be done. It's just that we don't know the timing to ever get that permit. And so we'd like to get a building permit from the building inspector, clean up the property as deems to eliminate the violations, and ultimately get a CO, and that would close the building department file. And hopefully by then, we'll have an approval and they can do the sewer. If they don't, it's still a condition of the site plan that could be fulfilled at whatever time that happens.
So I'm not entirely familiar with the project, but in looking at it earlier, there are several uses identified in the building. Is the existing system adequately sized for those uses? I know some of them are probably pretty minimal. I think there was a warehouse or a storage. Is what's there sufficient to handle the occupancy of the building?
Based on the records of what they constructed, it appears that yes, it's adequate, but actually I don't know what was physically installed. It's going by the owner saying, oh, it's over here and here's the tank, etc. But yeah, it has been functioning. I mean, those uses have been there, I don't know, several years now.
Yeah, and I spoke to the owner. He said that he never have any problem with the septic. He still wants to have sewer because everybody wants to have sewer, and he's like, that's why he's applying for that. But
Sure. Building permits are associated with work necessary to remedy the violations?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, if the system's functional, and we verified that, and I'm assuming the building's occupied now?
Yes. Correct.
Okay, and there's no
change the list.
observations of failures?
Correct. Yeah, the building's been fully occupied for quite some time, like years.
So if we have some confirmation that it's, adequately functioning, then, if you choose to work and still approval to connect once they have county.
And how would you recommend that they demonstrate that that septic system is working and adequate?
For an existing system, it's probably just visual observation. I would think for that type of site, it's been there for a while and there is failure, it's most likely build up from percolating down in the soil. Is evidence of that functioning.
Would we want to see evidence of when the last time that the tank was cleaned out? Is there a way to?
That's
of
always,
it?
that's always good if you can get those records,
Yes,
and that
we
way
can provide that,
you have a comfort level that the system is being maintained, somebody is monitoring and looking at it. So, yep, if that would, if that's available, that would certainly be a good indicator as well.
Yeah, we can provide that. That's not a problem.
I guess my question is, how do we, I mean, you're right, the approval could never come, depending on what and when happens with the expansion and how that's allocated. I understand that. But other than it being part of the site plan approval, how do we guarantee that that's going to get done once the approval comes, if it does? That's my concern.
That's the site plan approval. It's like any of the other improvements on that site plan. So we're showing, you're showing lighting and you're showing landscaping, and so those items are shown on that plan, and they get implemented and installed, and then basically verified by the time that they were completed. So, there would just simply be a note at the time that they do an issuance of a CO, which they would go through and do the site review. At that point in time, we'll see where we're at time-wise. Maybe we have the permit and it's a moot point, and if we don't, it's noted in the building department file that that's still an outstanding item that eventually, if a decision is made one way or the other to grant it or not to grant it, it's still on the plan.
Jeff covered. I think that moving forward, it would, as long as it's regulated that way, I don't think there's a real issue to me.
Yeah, I look at it as simply it's on the plan like any other improvement. It's just going to come down to, at the time of CO, whether or not we've received it or approval or not. And I would only say this, and it's only because the property's wrapped in violations that the building department wants to close and get out of court and get rid of all that process, and the only way to do that is to untie this.
So at this, they're in the building, right? They're still operating.
Yes.
In as much as they have violations, it's really not affecting them.
Correct.
So, in speaking with the attorney, one of the questions is, well, what's going to motivate them? There are other conditions that may not have been met, such as the plan being revised, or other conditions.
Yeah, we're still working to address all those. So this is the only one that we see, because we met with Ben.
Right.
And Ben's going through his list that he also wants to see. And so this came up as,
Okay. So the thought was that could some of these conditions, so you already have an extension.
Yes.
So your approval is not,
Don't have to
there's
build
nothing
anything.
wrong at this point in time. You're not out of approval. It's the fact that you want to change the condition.
correct.
So for us to change the condition, could you move forward with providing some items on the condition list? And And if, and it seems at that point. But right now, we're making a change, but we haven't even gotten to any of the other conditions. So the suggestion was, why don't we at least do some of those revisions, get them in, so we can get to map signing closer to it, and then make the change.
I don't want the map signed without correcting the resolution first. 'Cause it
But
would
there's,
be-
the only thing that's going to change is the timing for the sewer
Correct.
lateral extension. So
It's
if
kind of like you're
between,
dangling the carrot here for us to do this, to get this.
it was a, yes, a strategy that was suggested. So, but the idea is that, again, because this has been going on for so long, and because, you know, nothing has changed, it's still in operation, it seems like let's get the plans updated, let's get some of this other items updated, send it in, and in fact, there's nothing stopping you from submitting the permit. And so if the permit's in, we can even acknowledge that in an amended resolution, and,
Well, the permit for sewer's already been,
oh, it is in?
oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's-
so you
it's-
have, you
it's been
provide us that
submitted.
evidence.
Yeah, it's been submitted.
All right, so my suggestion would be that we could consider this for the next meeting. And
Okay.
perhaps between now and the next meeting, take a look at the conditions and then see what has to be updated on the plan, so at least we get closer.
Yeah,
to-
that's fine.
Because it may be that we could sign them, except for the fact that you're waiting on the permit from Orange County.
Well, yeah, you can sign them without that, because the way it's written, it's prior to, it's the
Building permit.
building permit. In order to get the building permit, I need to sign site plan, so it's like a domino.
Right. So let's get closer to,
All right. Okay. But is the board comfortable with providing the proof, like of how we're discussing it now, or is it something, okay. All right. Okay,
I'd be comfortable.
okay. Okay, fair enough.
it's just a little,
Yeah. Yeah, no, we can knock off, a lot of these are already done, so we'll be all right. Okay.
I do have one last question. So, assuming that you have the CO, the permit hasn't been, you've done all the other work at this point, how much more complicated is it going to be to do the sewer hookup at that point? Or are you going to do, at least on your property, the work towards that? Probably not, because it may never come.
Well, that and the county will not allow you, they won't
Okay,
accept it.
Until you have the permit, you can't even start
Correct.
that. So it's going to mean going back, pulling up part of the parking lot to do that, is my assumption.
I don't think so, I think we had the line routed through the grass,
Oh,
and then it's the same
Okay.
crossing of the road
Yeah,
regardless
yeah.
of Larkin, whatever we do, and then it was through the neighbor's yard where we secured an easement into Old Country. So I don't think much would change on the site, to be quite honest with you,
okay,
but I'll double check.
thanks.
Yep. All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
I kind of miss the old setup, I don't know. Now George can't yell at me.
we can send them up here.
He'll
If you
find a
really
way
miss
if he
it, we
needs
will.
to. Good night.
Right.
Next item on the agenda is 290 Mountain View subdivision.
Good evening, everyone. Michael Morgante, project engineer representing the application. This is fairly simple. I think you've seen the submittal. The applicant is seeking to withdraw the improvements that were proposed along 290 Mountain View, along the frontage of this property. It seems the town highway superintendent doesn't take any exception to that, as they had never actually requested that work to be done. At least that's what I see here on Mr. Sickler's comment letter. There was a discrepancy originally when we had submitted the plans. I was under the impression that the applicant wanted to drill a new well on Lot 1. that was not the case. They actually are using the existing well that we had pump tested and provided that information to the planning board during the original part of the application. So we're going to continue to utilize that well, and I'll update the plans and make sure that the abandonment note of that existing well is removed. We have submitted to Orange County Sewer District Number 1. We're awaiting responses. And I think number 4 on Matt's comment letter is just to note some item 4 in accordance with with town street specifications for any work. So comments are minor. Technically, there's a reduction in work of the plan, right? We're not doing the road widening work. We hope that this could be an administrative action that the board could take to approve the changes. We don't need a new public hearing or anything of that matter for this particular project, and that's a general summary of the project.
Correct, yeah, I spoke to him right before he went on vacation back in August. He stopped out to the site, took a look at it. He didn't see the need for the for the widening there. And then if that was widened, the drainage would have had to be reworked in that area, the catch basins relocated, new culverts put in, so he didn't see any issue with eliminating it. And he did mention that they just will need to obtain a highway opening permit to install the sewer lateral, and that they would post the security for that at the time they get that permit. And then, as Mike said, when we were looking at water supply, they did provide I think the well logs and pump test results for that existing well to demonstrate that they had water supply for the adjoining property. So I don't believe there's any issues with that well. So if they intend to reuse it, they've provided us information with that already.
So the proposed well is on the existing well.
Correct. Nope.
Comments to my left, Bob? Jeff?
So why was the road widening originally proposed in the first place?
I'd have to actually ask the applicant and get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I wasn't sure myself. It was just requested, and I made the effort to do it. Never really discussed it with them.
I don't know if maybe they were hoping they could park in front of it on the road.
I'm not sure either.
I mean, but it was one of the applicant's requests. It wasn't.
Correct.
It wasn't in looking at the site, there was a thought that there might be a need and that it,
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I showed no, parallel parking spaces along the road.
right.
I never indicated anything that we were utilizing it for any of those purposes. I kind of scratched my head when it was mentioned to me to do it, but I did it at their request. Never really discussed the matter with them.
When I talked to Bill Brown, he said he had no idea why it was proposed there to begin with, so he was okay with that.
Any questions, Lou, or I think you had a question?
I did have a question, but it was already answered. Thank you.
So in terms of notes, again, we went over, Matt has spoken. Resolution. It reflects. So Ashley has redlined it so we could see what the changes are. So I'm just going to scroll through this. This should reflect the most recent plan submission, project narrative. approval subject to a final engineering review, plat not to be signed until receipt of a letter from the planning board engineer certifying that all deficiencies noted in this memorandum of 12 September 2025 have been remedied to a satisfaction. So that would be the comments that were in Matt's review memo read this evening. And the now, prior to the issuance of building permit, applicant shall obtain a road opening permit from the town highway superintendent for the work associated with the proposed sewer connection within Mountain Drive, and post security for completion of all improvements within the right-of-way to the extent required by the highway superintendent in an amount satisfactory town board upon consultation with the town engineer and satisfactory town attorney as to form. That may be more than that's needed, but it covers us. And then 12 is being deleted. That had to do with the abandonment of the well.
Bonnie, could you
Yep.
scroll back up to 6 real quick?
Yep.
And that's speaking to all roadway improvements. Will there be roadway improvements if,
I think she left that in there for whatever, like, new pavement course has to be.
Correct. We would have
Okay.
a driveway apron connection. We also have a sewer lateral connection
fine.
that would require disturbance of the road.
Previously, that condition reference, I think,
Right, so that was
Okay.
revised to reflect just. Only thing, or current plans reflect now that you're connecting to the existing well? Or does it still say abandoned? Do you recall what it now
Yeah,
says?
I think on the demolition plan, it might have been an oversight where I still left the note on there to abandon the existing well, so that would need to be removed.
that could be covered,
Covered in your second comment?
clarify the source of the potable water, which will be the existing well.
Trying to see if there was. So. Site plan shall be revised to reflect that the proposed two-family dwelling will be connected well. Plans shall be reviewed.
Proposed two-family will have a new well.
It's the
It's
existing.
the existing dwelling there that will continue to use the existing well.
So the existing, two buildings.
The dwelling that's currently constructed, which is on Lot 1,
right,
that has an existing well.
is that the one that was shown as being abandoned?
Correct.
Oh.
Correct.
If I could make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's on there. I mean, just put a general note in there that I need to comply with the comments from Matt's comment.
I think it's only because it says I just want to be more specific. So we'll just say the site plan shall be revised to reflect that the Lot 1 well is still being utilized,
Existing well.
existing
Correct.
well.
Will remain to serve dwelling on Lot 1.
the existing dwelling on Lot 1.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. So with that, does someone want to make a motion to approve this amended resolution as amended this evening?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Noreen?
Bonnie Francis,
Aye.
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 Bob Garstad.
Okay, with that, the motion carries, and we'll wait to get the plans so that our engineer can take a look at it.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. All right. Agenda is Aaron Zimmerman, 37 Dry Hill Road.
Yep. So
Is your attorney here this evening or no?
he's not,
Okay.
but I can give a quick recap of what we've done since last time we've appeared. Again, so for the record, Michael Morganti, project engineer for this application. So we had our wetland consultant go out, flag the wetlands. We GPS them, put them on a map. Just recently, we received notification from Mike Fratz of the DEC that he visited the site and and agreed with the location of those flags. So we'll produce a wetland validation map, send it to him shortly for his signature. But at least we know that we're dealing with accurate information as it relates to that. We recently walked the site with Matt Sickler and Dennis from the Monroe Conservation Commission. I think you all have a letter from Dennis. So that was a productive site visit, which generated that letter and some other comments. I believe the board had asked for a wetland report, which our wetland consultant provided. We've also provided the board with floor plans and elevations to review. We were able to find and allocate the recent, not so recent, but back in like 2021, I think, DEC dam report. That's in the repository now of the town, and we did submit a JD request. However, we know that the wetland is going to be claimed by the DEC and that we're within their buffer. So that's kind of an overview of what we've been able to accomplish since we were here at the August meeting. I did receive a letter here from Mr. Sickler regarding some additional comments, and we're prepared to discuss those comments and have a discussion with the board if there's anything else that needs to be dealt with.
Matt, I do have a comment letter here, so those.
Sure. Comment 2, reminder that the applicant had submitted a dam maintenance declaration. I believe Ashley has reviewed that and provided some comments to the applicant's attorney. I don't know that she's received revisions back, but that's in the works. Comment 3 is just another reminder that the applicant is currently before the ZBA to discuss these conditions of a previous approval. I believe that action is still ongoing. Comment 4, as Mike said, this will require approval, an application to Orange County Sewer District 1. 5 is just a reminder that if there are improvements made within Dry Hill Lake Road associated with those previous variants, required. Same with comment 6, connection to water district. 7, my understanding is that there's a proposed extension of the water main from Dry Hill Lake Road to an adjoining parcel, just so everyone's aware of that. Comment 8, I believe the accessory structure being the pool house, we should confirm the height of that's
Sure.
limited to 15 feet. Plan has been submitted. We forwarded that to Karen's office for review. and we'll furnish comments as soon as that's received. And as Mike said, Dennis walked the site with us, and I believe has provided the MCC in conjunction with later comments about the dam, the current condition, and work with DEC. We may need to revisit the tree plan. Comment 10, like said, take wetland there. Wetland consult at well. 11, requirements for lot coverage. For 5721-1. So if you could confirm that. Comment 13. Site property line, the wetland buffer is pretty narrow, and as you can see, the improvements are all kind of lined up going down the slope. And I think this was last board meeting that you weren't at, Mike. The board was looking for kind of a description or a narrative explanation as to how the construction would proceed and what methods would be used to work in that space and not further encroach beyond the limits of disturbance and the buffer disturbance that's shown.
Yep.
So if that's something you could either
Yep, we'll
Address
we'll look into that. For the board's knowledge, when we first started this project, I consulted a couple of contractors to make sure there was the buildability factor of it. They indicated to me that they could get it done, but we'll need to provide the board with a little bit more detail, maybe methodologies on how we will get it done, so that's fine.
And I think that maybe the sequence,
Yep.
order that construction would proceed, kind of the logical steps as to how that would work. Just so when the board is reviewing this for SECRA, they're confident in the limits of disturbance and the encroachment on the buffer areas is actually going to be,
Yep.
What's here. And again, comment 14, this one, again, was a discussion, I think, last month that may not have got there. Elevations of the proposed dwelling were provided. I think what the board had requested and was looking for was maybe a visual analysis from 17M is to see potentially what that would look like with the tree clearing.
Okay.
And
Okay, we'll see if we can do something with that.
I'm going to discussed the improvements in the impervious areas kind of all towards the adjacent provide some
We can look at that.
option as to how stormwater runoff without impervious area is going to be managed or maintained to mitigate any potential impact
Sure.
on the
Yep, that's fine.
back to 15. Like I said, we went out, took a look at the dam, the structure, the spillway, and reviewed the DEC report, which I think was done. Basically, the biggest item noted is further than a bank. Structural engineers don't like trees growing structure there and creating potential pathways to eventually lead to seepage and erosion out of the embankment. I think you've all seen the site. It's littered with trees. Most of them on the embankment aren't large, but there's quite a few of them. So DEC's comment to that was remove the trees and brush from the embankment, and I think they said maybe down to the toe of the slope
Right.
or some dimension on there. So if you're looking at a buffer disturbance, that's obviously within the 100-foot buffer. You may want to request that be incorporated into this plan, subject to review and confirmation with a consultant that the property owner retains to evaluate the dam and DEC concurrence. That smaller trees, they don't want the stumps removed, but they want the trees cut and removed. Larger ones, I think they'll have to evaluate on a case-by-case basis. Other significant item, channel that conveys runoff from the outlet structure down to Route 17M is pretty eroded and scoured. That's just a result over time. Once erosion starts, it just keeps going and building. So there's going to need to be some significant restoration channel, probably wrap or some other that back to a point where the stops. And I believe issues at 17M, most likely the material off of there and deposited down structures down there. So those are the two big items associated. Some kind that's a pretty minor disturbance compared to the rest of it. So you might want to request that type of work be identified on these plans as you're evaluating it, for SECRA, so that you've got a full scope of what will be undertaken at the site.
Thank you. That was very comprehensive. So I was just looking at the DEC pictures. So these are the pictures, I guess, of the trees on the embankment. So when they say remove the trees, do they want the stumps removed too, or is it just?
Smaller trees, they want the stumps, they recommend they be left.
Okay.
Larger trees really need to be evaluated by an engineer in consideration of the size of the stump, the location of it. If you start pulling them out, are you going to breach it? So there's some other factors that go into that. So DEC didn't make a blanket recommendation on that. But they definitely want the tree cut and then cut and removed. So the stump, that'll have to be an evaluation on the larger ones. So.
And then here, this particular photo, it says low spot on dam, crest towards right end, almost no freeboard. Freeboard meaning the amount of space between the elevation between the crest and the water level?
Correct. That would be, freeboard is the distance between the water surface elevation and the top of the structure that's containing it or impounding it. One of the items that DEC also noted was kind of unevenness of the embankment. There's either over time it's settled or whatever. You usually prefer to have kind of a constant elevation across that. If you have spots that are lower and the water level rises, that's where it'll go over first. And if it's all going over a low spot, it's going to erode and potentially create other problems. So as part of this renovation or remediation to this, they may also place some additional soil in those areas to level that out. Correct.
How old is this dam? Do we have any just history of when it was created and? anything about it at all?
I wasn't able to find any records of that. I mean, not certain. I mean, the spillway looks pretty old.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing that's 30, 40, 50 years old, somewhere in that range. But I couldn't tell you for sure.
So what is the applicant thinking in terms of, they own this property now, has a dam in violation? What are they doing to address that?
Sure. So I had discussed this with Matt actually as when we were out there on our site visit. It's my opinion that that dam remediation needs to occur before any certificate of occupancy is granted for this particular project, if the project is approved by the planning board and we get to that point. So it would make sense that the construction work would occur at the same time we're doing construction on the dwelling. Either way, the applicant's bound to take care of this with the DEC. But now that we're in the planning process, it would make sense to try to kind of envelop them all into one umbrella and deal with them at that time. But yeah, that would be the idea, and I think a condition could be placed by this board, noted in any kind of a resolution that that work needs to be completed and approved by the DEC before CO is granted for the particular dwelling.
I have up on the screen the MCC's comments for the board's benefit. So it looks like they were out at the same time that the engineer and our engineer were out. So in as much as they're removing 41 trees, none are considered specimen. So from just a tree value perspective, that's one aspect. The other aspect is just, ecological. So proposed replacement trees are all white oak and red maple, and indicated smaller tree species with non-invasive roots. Something that our land walkways might gets into the amended tree code. And talking about the earth. So that would affect the tree calculation and would also bring in our tree code that we'd have to examine. So that's an so quick, just process, we had already declared this unlisted action. We already assumed lead agency status. This is not subject to GML. We will need to complete seeker before opening a public hearing, so we need to figure out how far and what information do we need to get to a negative declaration, given there's kind of two aspects of this project, the house itself and then this dam. We've discussed already retaining a wetland ecologist consultant. I've been in communication with someone. One of the questions I have, or actually let me just finish with Ash's comments. So we need to confirm the height of the dwelling, number of stories. We need to check whether there's a variance is needed for the pool house near the rear yard. Matt did bring up the question of lot coverage. And we are working off of the August submission, not the recent submission. Had a lot of information about the dam, but no updates on the site plan at this point.
Correct.
Discuss the visual rendering. We are in front of the ZBA. Ashley is going to send out a letter to the ZBA just to make sure, have a good night, and see if they have any comments, because they're a partner in seeker, so we just want to make sure that we're addressing anything that they're considering. Ashley did provide proposed changes to the draft dam maintenance declaration. The plans need to include the house relocation notes and indicate the number of bedrooms in the dwelling. Stormwater notes need to be added, 4017, less exempt, and I'll our engineer on that. Parkland fee will be required. So the dam talks about, and this is a question I have, where was it? Road maintenance, dam maintenance. There's something to the effect of, nothing herein shall prohibit the removal of said pond or create any rights of others to use, drain into, or otherwise benefit from the continued maintenance of said pond. So that was a question I have. Is this pond, and this is what we want to explore with our consultant and get Jim Bates out there with our consultant, is it ultimately easier to not have this as a dam and have it as a wetland and let it be more free flow? Or, and I don't know how DEC would be because this is a wetland, but if you take the water away, it still may be a wetland, but just not a pond. So the question came to mind because in theory, after all this is done, the applicant could just remove the pond. And so does the applicant actually have a preference, or is it such a hurdle to remove a dam that it's better that they just maintain it? Like what are the applicant's thoughts on this?
I'll have to ask.
Okay.
And I'll have to ask and get back to you. At this point, the applicant's under the impression that this is a requirement of them, and they seem to be amicable, obviously, to doing it. But let me ask that question because it's a good question. My only concern is, from the little bit I know about the pond, I don't think the pond's very deep already. I want to say it's maybe 3-4 feet. Not sure. It's hard to do soundings on it. Can't get that close to it. But and then draining it down to a certain level, I'm not sure. Mosquito ditches, things of that nature. I'm not sure like what would be left there if that's going to be good for the applicant with a house so close nearby. So let me discuss it with them and get back to you, though.
Yeah, I sort of want to know if there's a lot to be done for this
Agreed.
pond. And the fact that this declaration suggests it could be removed anyway, you know, what are the two options? And, you know, from a seeker perspective and a DEC perspective, would they be okay if it's a wetland still, just not a pond wetland? Or, you know, I have no idea. And so I think,
in essence, if it just flows right through.
right.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, so the Mill Pond Raceway, the village of Monroe, where our lakes are, they had contemplating taking out the dam there, but everybody had a fit. And they did remove the trees off of it because they saw some seepage happening because of the trees. So they were beautiful trees, but it was either the dam or the trees, and they cut the dam. The other property, I think, where this was discussed in the village was the Roscoe Smith property, the one with the wheel, it had the water wheel, whatever. At
On
some
Lakes Road.
point, they also proposed removing the dam there. So I know this has been discussed, especially because from a maintenance perspective. So in those instances, like the Mill Pond, that's a public property. In this instance, it's a private property, and it's, you know, there's a hazard going on, it's a lot to maintain, so in theory, you know, it could be pursued, so I think that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, and it's a very good point you raise, and I definitely would like to discuss that with the client, the applicant, to see what their position is. Maybe it may make sense to, in essence, if they're, they'd lower the spillway, potentially even eliminate it, drain the pond appropriately under the right conditions, have a lower water level, we'd still probably rip-rap line that, the ditch going down towards 17M, I'm sure it'll help, and eliminate the need for maybe tree cutting and future dam maintenance. It's a valid point. So as long as the DEC isn't on board with that as well, we'd have to obviously consult with them, but let me start with the applicant, see what their position is.
And I think then it makes sense. We have to investigate what's in the pond. Is it just sunfishes, just nothing of significance, or that's part of the evaluation. So I don't know what's in that pond. So those are my thoughts. Jeff, comments?
So we were provided this letter from DEC back from January of 2022 to what I assume was a previous owner of the property. It's not currently with Thomas Sullivan.
Correct.
Okay. Do we know if, so DEC in their letter asked for a written response within 30 days, identifying your plan and schedule for submitting the above outstanding items, as well as your plan to address deficiencies identified in this letter and visual observation report. Do we know if that ever happened?
No, it has not occurred yet.
So okay, so we know it hasn't happened.
Has not.
So
Not-
that's-
at least this applicant has not. Whether Tom Sullivan did anything, I have no idea. But this applicant has not done anything according to the comments on that letter.
But based on current observations, it doesn't appear that
Doesn't
anything
appear that
has
anything's
been done to
been done.
address any of this.
Well,
Correct.
but I would say this, I don't even know if a response was provided to the DEC is what I'm getting at.
I'm just curious, were they unaware of all this when they purchased the property, do you think?
I'm not aware, I'd have to ask.
Yeah, I'm just curious whether they ended up buying a big pond and everything.
Knew what they were jumping into.
Yeah, exactly, because this.
No pun
this
intended.
Exactly.
That's right. This letter is over 3 years old, so, but I don't know when they acquired it, the property. And so the other aspect of it is it needs to have an I&M plan and it has to have an EAP plan if it remains. So there's just a lot that has to happen before this is resolved, never mind to get to improvements of the actual spillway, which I can't even imagine how much that's going to cost between the engineering and fixing the dam and cutting.
The tree removal might be the cheapest part of it.
I mean, just a comment. I mean, it just it seems like a big project. I mean, I guess you'll have to tackle that dam first and figure out what you guys want to do with that first.
Yeah, I think what I need to do is discuss with the applicant, Bonnie had just suggested, and then see what their intended direction is. I can provide that input to the board. If they do want to maintain the dam, I would suggest, though, that it is an outside agency. Not that this board doesn't have any interest in it, but they're not approving it. So we would have to work directly with the DEC, get a consultant, as the letter suggests, prepare a plan, send it to them, have them approve it, execute the work. Again, this would be something we would look to do in conjunction with, a building permit at that time and make it subject to CO. We would also, try to identify the area on the embankment that tree clearing would be required and some work would need to be done. But I need to get some input from the applicant.
I think the time of all this, our attorney.
Sure.
What's the next? How do we address that? So that's just a general question hanging out there, but I think it sounds like you need to talk to the applicant about options anyway. So, and again, from my perspective, it also comes down to if this is sort of seeker related, and I'm sure DEC will say the same thing. If you find the rare bobo link fish species in this pond, they're going to have a different opinion than if it's just guppy, whatevers. So, clearly they have to be looped into this process somehow, or sooner than later.
Yeah, the wetlands consult wildlife. The wetland on site is mostly a pond with fishes like sunfish and bass. Amphibians like bullfrogs and pickerel frogs will utilize the pond as well as painted and snapping turtles.
I don't know if he observed, I don't know
Yeah,
if he observed them,
that's
or if
the-
he's just saying this is
That,
what
this is, I think that's,
typically in a pond.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that we can have our consultant go out with Jim and give us a better picture. There's so much that's in that watershed directed to the pond I think a fair amount is already developed. There is actually a smaller pond that sits above this pond when I looked at a map. There is some area that's undeveloped up there. Takes so long. Hopefully it'll go right to the spot. That's what it usually. That's not
Stewart?
what this is. It comes up as a
Airport
default. Yeah, it comes up as a default. Oh, there we go. So where are we?
That was Catskill Ave.
Oh, there we go. That's right. Pretty decent sized pond. And it looks like there's this little pondlet above it. And then it's almost like this whole stream channel has a series of ponds. But they're preserved open space, but they also go through, developed areas. So I'm sure there's soil erosion and sediment and all kinds of stuff happening. But yeah, I don't know what the health of this would be. But normally it just comes down here, and when it blows out, and I don't know if it's actually rock coming from that erosion or if it's actually running over the driveway or the parking lot that might have gravel, and then that's what we see on 17M.
Probably some of both.
Yeah.
It's the channel coming out of there is obviously pretty eroded and scoured.
Yeah.
It's deep, so I'm sure some originates there, and then it probably picks some up from the parking lots below as well.
If I recall correctly, there was no algal growth out there when we were out there, very, very little, right? So there was very little algal growth, if I recall, when we were out there.
Algal growth? No?
Not much, no?
Yeah, so it's a pretty healthy pond, actually.
Yeah.
Surprising compared to,
Yeah, I thought so, too.
yeah.
So, all right. I think this is as far as we can go. It looks like we have more questions.
Okay.
Additional review. We just want to also make sure that we've covered all the variances that might be needed, and definitely want to make sure that, just because of the wetland buffer, having an understanding that, what's the limits of disturbance and are we staying within them? So we'll leave it there.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your time tonight, everybody.
All right. So next item on the agenda is Manuel Pillay. Oh, sorry, Meadow Hill. I apologize. Well, if they're not here, we're not going to go through it. They may not, did they know? Yeah. Okay.
Trying to think, did I? Good evening, Zachary Peters from Mercurio Norton Tiroli Marshall, with engineers for the project. I'm sure the board's familiar with my colleague Ryan Smitham that's primarily been handling this, covering the meeting for him tonight. So, the project's been before the board, for a while. It's a 6-lot subdivision. I think when we were last here, we were working on getting together 2 of the main items the board was looking for. The basic SWIP, it's over an acre of disturbance, under 5 acres, for the residential subdivision, so we did get that prepared and submitted. I saw in Matt's comments that they've got that to review. We also had submitted a tree plan with the tree locations, which is on sheet 5 of the current plan set. Just one of the things that we wanted to note on there was when the consultant was out in the field, there's a pretty large area, mainly on lots 4, 5, and a portion of lot 6, that's got a lot of dead ash out there. You can actually see it from the aerial,
Okay.
on the most recent aerial. That just, I think they got taken out. He said they saw lantern
The
flies
ash
and
borer?
the borers out
Yeah.
there, yeah. So that's denoted on the plans. There were some other trees mixed in there that were located as well. That's really the gist. I don't think anything on the plan has changed substantially. They're working on, they're on the well driller schedule to do the test well. I think they're looking to get in to do that on lot 1. And other than that, I guess the applicant had wanted to ask, I think the town code requires one test well for subdivisions of 1 to 5 lots, and then 2 test wells, I think it's 6 to 10 lots. I didn't know if that was something that the board would consider or have the ability to grant a waiver to just do 1 test well. That's what's required by the health department. It's really just the difference of the 1 well, and we're right on the 5 to 6 border.
So let's, those are your comments. We can go through
Sure.
Matt's comments. So why don't you?
Sure.
Take it.
Comment 2 is noted. We did receive the basic SWIP for that. That's in our SWIP review queue. We received about 15 of them this month to review. So we'll probably have comments in the next week or 2 that we can forward to Noreen and to Zach on that. I wouldn't expect a lot. It's a basic SWIP dealing with, the erosion control features, so pretty straightforward. Orange County DPW issued some comments back in March. I did note the latest plans reflected an area of vegetation clearing to be maintained for site distance. Do you know if you submitted a response to those yet, or is that in the works?
Yeah, my understanding is that we'd responded to that and gotten a conditional sign-off or acceptance of the locations from them, so I'll see if we can get that formal documentation and submit it into the board. My understanding is I think they had emailed that they're just ready for the permits whenever it gets to.
Yeah, I think so long as we have an email that
So-
says, we're good with the locations as shown on the XYZ map. We're not expecting permits to do an egg deck. but-
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
Yeah,
just so we have an
as you said, to get through SECRA,
Yeah.
if you know that there's acceptable locations, acceptable site distance, and any improvements that are needed to get that are shown, which they've reflected the areas of clearing.
Yeah, we'll get that and submit it.
As Zach said, this submittal did include the tree plan. I forwarded that on to Karen for review, and I think we'll need to get MCC comments as well. Just a note that Health Department will need to review this after you've been satisfied and taken at least a preliminary.
I love saying that all night.
Town wetland consultant comments will need to be updated. I think they've looked at this once, perhaps.
So I did reach out to Dave Tompkins because he had been there. And the wetlands was done over 5 years ago.
Yeah, my understanding of that, and we can submit something more definitively with dates and stuff on the record. My understanding is that something was done, he had been out there 5 years ago.
Right.
Our consultant had reconfirmed the validation, submitted a letter, and I think that Dave had gone back out or reviewed that. But
Yeah,
I thought that there was a follow-up from Dave Tompkins within the last, I don't know, year or 18 months or whatever it's been.
That might be the case. I think one of the things he was saying, at some point when X years has gone by, you actually have to like delineate again. So I don't know what that is. But more importantly, I think we're wondering, I think you submitted for a DEC jurisdictional determination, but I don't know that we've received anything.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that. So I'll double check and again, just resubmit kind of a summary in response to this with, with where we're at on all the items. So I think as far as the town consultant, that he had been back out there, but we are waiting to hear back from DEC on the JD still, which is, I guess, kind of just a toss-up on when it's going to come back.
Sure. And that was the next comment, the status of the JD. I think, as Zach said, they'd indicated they had submitted it, but as we know, that's been taking a while. So, and then just to touch on the secret status with Ashley, and I think she noted that several years ago, you may have assumed lead agency status.
Did.
So I don't know if that needs to be reconfirmed or if we're still in good shape with that.
The operative term is several years, so her summary, this is a 6-lot cluster, because we were in the cluster requirements. This is an unlisted action, and we actually assumed lead agency status in 2019. So that's how long this project's been around. Sketch plan was previously referred, and they responded, but they said we need a full statement of the action because they didn't have an EAF or anything else, so GML's still hanging out there. Have a public hearing, so we need to get to and through seeker before we can open that public hearing, which will also be sent to Town of Chester. So in terms of her comments, we need to submit a new application that is signed, the owner's endorsement is signed. So I don't know if that was done already.
I thought that we had submitted a new application for the current applicant back when my
When
office
you
came
took
back
over?
in with this. Again,
Okay.
I can double, if
Yeah,
you're
double-
able to forward me the comments, I can respond, point by point.
Yeah, take a look, because you said the current owner's Meadow Hill Subdivision LLC. We need a formal wetlands application with a narrative, if that hasn't been submitted for our own town wetland law. Bulk table on sheets 1, 2, et cetera, need to be revised. Note 4 indicates minimum side yard is being reduced to 15 feet for one and 30 feet for both. However, the small side setback is 16.8 and the smallest total side setback is 62.9. Cluster column in the bulk table should indicate all the proposed reduced bulk consistent with the small side setbacks proposed. So since it's a cluster, you may be below some of those setbacks, so we should just reflect what the cluster is proposing.
Okay.
I think that's what she's saying.
Okay, yeah, I'll read through that again.
Yeah. Lot area column, please show the net lot area. If that's not done, calculated on sheet 2. Revise note 3 under the bulk table to state pursuant to town code, and the minimum lot area may be reduced by 50% of what otherwise would be required for conventional lot in the district, and the minimum yard requirements are established by the planning board during cluster review. And then she has delete note 4. Yeah,
Do you think it would be helpful?
I can
if-
send these.
Yeah, or if you don't want to, I can copy and shoot them on to Zach.
Yeah, we could cut and paste and.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
don't mind sending them, we'll go through and make whatever
Sure.
revisions are necessary and respond.
So, with regard to the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, I think there's an offer there. So she's indicating it may be owned by a homeowners association, et cetera, as long as it's protected from development. It requires a conservation easement to be held by the town or qualified not-for-profit conservation organization acceptable to the town. So I guess we have to make sure that that's acceptable, that
So
organization.
there'll be some language.
Yeah.
With that, okay.
The tree plan, I won't go into the details. Again, Matt can cut and paste or comments. You'll follow up with Orange County DPW. Just make sure to look at the scenic buffer zone requirements. And at some point, we'll have to determine whether there's any public improvements, and there will be recreation fees. But that'll come down the line. So getting back to your comment, so at one of the meetings, prior meetings, I think you had to look at the well locations relative to the landfill, right?
Correct. That was a comment brought up, I think, when you approached the health department about potential well locations and being more than 300 feet, I think.
Yeah, so basically what had happened was, we made the application into the health department, and, generally they're looking for some sort of, they like to have a secret determination, but they did do a preliminary review and issue some comments. And it was either through them or a response from DEC, I think it was actually from the health department that advised of the old landfill across the street. So we ended up, long story short, we ended up basically swapping lots 1 and 2 to put the sewers in the front, wells in the back, so that we could provide the separation to where that landfill was. So that was done and is reflected on this plan.
I thought you had drilled wells on this site a long time ago, but is that the case or no?
I'm not aware that there's any wells out
Okay.
there now. I know that we had come in previously. I was here for a workshop, I don't know, maybe 3 or so months ago, and
Okay.
we were getting this moving, but they're still coordinating with the well driller. So I don't think there's any wells out there yet, to the best of my knowledge.
I remember, and I guess part of the reason I think that, at some point, there had been a violation because there had been some tree clearing done on the property.
They did put in, there's like a gravel entrance in the area of Lot 1 where someone, probably back in 2019, had gone in and done some grading and put in, I think there's actually a gravel access that goes in there. But I don't believe, I'm just kind of looking at my reduced copy here, I don't believe there was anything more than that done.
Okay, because I didn't know if that was to get in to do a well. That was why I thought maybe. This is so long ago, 6 years.
Yeah.
I've been come and gone. So that's why in my brain I'm wondering whether anything was drilled yet. But, okay, so your question is how many wells based on our law and I guess which locations for the wells?
Yeah, if the board has a preference, right now the plan is, from the feedback and conversations we've had with the health department, we were planning on drilling it on Lot 1, mainly because that's the area where that existing gravel access is. So they can get in there with kind of minimal disturbance. There's probably going to be a couple trees or things they're going to need to take down in the back, but we have it actually staked out so that they can go in along the proposed driveway and then kind of through where the clearing area is already proposed to get that well in, to have the least amount of impacts.
I would say that from my perspective, I defer to the engineer in terms of what you think would be appropriate and whether 1 or 2 wells are needed. That's a conversation you can have. You don't have to decide, I don't want to put you on the spot. But I don't know, given the landfill, given if there's surrounding development, whatever, if we're trying to figure out which are the best wells to test, then, for me, I'd defer to engineering. I don't know whether our well tests require nearby wells to be monitored, or if it's just a simple pump test.
Honestly, I didn't look at our well requirements prior to tonight, so off the top of my head, I don't know. Normally, I am comfortable with deferring to the health department requirements for it, but I can take a look at what yours, current, what they call for, and then I can give you a recommendation.
Talked about this. Were they requiring a PFAS or any kind of, do you know what the water quality? I think they might be requiring it now, but I don't know.
I don't recall for certain. If I had to say yes or no, I'm leaning towards yes. That sounds familiar, but I didn't have most of the correspondence with them. Ryan handled most of that. So,
Okay.
Again, I can follow up on that as well. And again, the basis for that request was really just that the health department was only requiring, the one well. So,
Yeah, I don't know if it's a full subpart 5.1 or if it's just certain things.
Yeah, the full Part 5 now requires them. I don't know if that's reduced for single family, so.
yeah, I mean, if you want to look into it, we can follow
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah, so I think you both can coordinate, talk about the discussion with Department of Health, and then just come back with a recommendation of which wells.
Sure.
And I don't even know that we have to wait to I don't know when they want to do it. I don't know that we have to wait. I think so long as we circulate to the entire board, we know what's happening, and maybe you could go forward, but have that conversation.
Okay.
Sure, we'll have that conversation. I'll drop you all an email with what I see in reviewing our requirements, and then kind of a summary of the health department requirements, and that way, like you said, we're all on the same page and know.
Yeah, and we can get the responses, to Matt's comments and the attorney comments, and kind of get everybody up to speed on those aspects. And just so the board's aware, like I'm sure every applicant is, we're just trying to get a benchmark on, for seeker, the reason being that we can only go so far with the health department. They pretty much said, we're not going to accommodate you doing any joint testing or anything, until we get, something on seeker. So that's kind of the benchmark we're looking for. So we just want to try to get all those ducks in a row so that we can do that.
Okay. So are you saying you wouldn't do well testing until seeker's done?
I
Because
think
we usually use that as part of seeker.
we would want to do it.
Okay.
And are planning on doing it, so that's why we're trying to get an answer on the wells. I guess really the question is as far as timing goes, is the board going to want those results completely before acting on seeker, or is that something that could be a condition, and then if something gets, a hit comes back or something that changes?
Yeah, I think normally, just because developers move forward with the well testing, we do have it as part of seeker. I think really, in terms of the critical path here, DEC that's I think a bigger issue, because I don't know if you have to have a 100-foot buffer if anything has to move. I know that they have that general permit
Yeah,
for residential, so, we don't want to know if you need a permit, we just want to know that they would be likely to give you a permit
Gotcha,
and not necessarily need mitigation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our environmental consultant had indicated, I think, the same thing, that, if they did end up, wanting the 100-foot adjacent area, that we could likely apply for and get, the permit. I guess we'll reach out to them and see what can be done to expedite some sort of response. I don't know how accommodating they'll be, but
So,
Never know till you
you
ask.
can always ask.
so I've been told that if you go direct to Mike Fratz at DEC Region 3, it'll go much quicker.
Okay.
However, I don't know if then you're essentially telling Mike, we are a regulated wetland. So, absent them giving you a JD, you may be just making it a DEC wetland by going to Mike. So I think that's the risk that exists.
Yeah.
So that's up to you. The JDs, one just came through, I know they're coming in around 100 days. So I don't know when you sent in.
Yeah, I'd have to check. I think the consultant had at least some sort of discussion with Mike, but
Okay.
I don't know the full extent of it. So
Okay.
we'll try to track that down and get the best definitive response that we can at this point.
Yeah. So I'm more, I would say for seeker, I definitely want to know that, the DEC.
If they do
Yeah.
likely to grant.
Yeah. And the wells, you know, that can be further discussion, but at least let's figure out where it should be in.
Okay. Yeah, my concern with the wells, just for timing, is that if, you know, if it's got to get submitted and go through the board to get okayed before seeker, then we need seeker to get to the health department, and then we can submit to the health department and sit in their queue for, you know, 6 to 8 weeks. You know, then we're kind of kicking it out quite a bit.
Yeah,
but-
I would look at it as you need it either way because it's in our regulations, right? And you need it for DOH.
Yeah.
So I would just do it. You know, I think you're at that point. So,
And
Anyway.
I'll be able to look at our requirements for it and get everybody an email within the next day or two. Yep.
Jeff, comment?
One thing that I guess kind of stuck out with me when I was looking at the plans and in relation to the narrative for the wetlands application is there's quite a bit of disturbance in the 100-foot buffer. And so what I'd like to see in the narrative is, I mean, obviously we're going to know how much disturbance is being proposed. What I'd like to know is how much of what's being proposed for conservation easement is being proposed that's outside of 100-foot buffer. So basically, what are we getting in, it's not true mitigation, but
Okay.
we're conserving this, we're disturbing this, but we're conserving that.
Okay. Outside of the
That's
buffer.
outside of the buffer, that's additional outside the wetlands.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think at this point where you'll coordinate with Matt and address his comments. We're waiting on the wetland. Again, I think those are critical path, the wetland especially is critical path item to get to a neg deck,
Okay.
okay?
The wetlands and the wells are the biggest things, and I think everything else, even the attorney's comments that were discussed, didn't sound like there was anything
They're
significant.
more about the plans.
Just to get
Yeah.
everybody up to speed.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then Matt will also send those to you,
Perfect.
all right?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see everybody.
Have a good night.
You as well.
So the next item that's supposed to be on the agenda is, I don't know how to say it, Manuel Pillay. They're not here, so we will table it. I know Matt did a review, so we have that, so that we can go over that with the applicant next, whenever they show up. And we will, one thing though, for everybody who's looking at that, Matt, you had a conversation with the highway superintendent?
Correct, and asked him to what extent does the town maintain that road? The town maintains up to the intersection Cross Street. The extension to the dead end, which is in front of this project, is private. I don't know who owns it, who maintains it, what entity.
I can go there. It's over by Walton, it comes off of Walton, right here. Okay. Is that it? That's right here, okay. So what was the name of this? This was Monroe, what was the name of the street that they're on? Catskill, okay.
Catskill,
So I think the town road is basically to here. It goes around,
correct.
right? And so he said this is all private?
Yes, he said the town does not maintain that.
Okay. The other thing we need to look at, not that we're going to go into full detail, I don't think that some of these improvements in here meet requirements for setbacks, for parking in the front yard. There might be some issues with this house that we have to address because it's part of the two-lot subdivision. So they want to subdivide somewhere in here, this would be the additional lot. Once upon a time, this actually extended out with another loop, but we were looking at the records and the town of Chester purchased this I think they have wells back there. It says something about, I think, water public supply. So, but the new house would be somewhere in here. So it's going to be interesting because this is a private road. I don't know if they need a 280A, like Dry Hill. So we're going to have to explore all that when the applicant appears. But I figured I'd show you all where this is. All right? All right, so with that, I think at this point we just have minutes. So we will allow, I know, I don't know if we can get through any, but we'll allow our engineer to. I have them. I have them. And we need, do we have one meeting in July or two?
One in July.
Okay, so we need the 2 August?
The one is done, the second one I'm working on, because it was in between the split. It's locked in board docs.
Okay.
They said I could still get in, and
Yeah, I actually had a problem today and I figured out how to get in.
yeah, you can't, it's not letting me in at all.
So, thank you,
I'm
Matt.
loading the files now.
Appreciate it. Good night. All right, so let's even see whether we can address any of these.
Yep, have a good one.
Jen
Enjoy
and-
your dinner.
I told Lori, my son is on.
Oh,
My wife was out late tonight, so we said, you make dinner. So we'll see what I'm walking into for dinner.
good luck.
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah. Good night. All right, so let's see. So the first one is June 13th. Well, I thought I had also put okay, 3/13 I don't think we've done yet, according to your minutes, right? Or did we?
June 13th, we don't, haven't had a quorum?
Wait. Oh, okay, June. Or Jeff, Dylan, Bob. Okay. So, yeah, so we got to leave that one on. What's next?
September 12th, 24th.
September. Jeff, Pat, and Dylan. Okay, same issue. So, look, you know what, but we should endeavor just to read them, because we can approve them if we've read them, so we should all remember that. Okay, what's
March
next?
13th.
March 13th of this year? All right, that's another Jeff one. I just put Jeff knowing that I'm not there. Pat and Dylan. All righty. June 12th. That's a Jeff one. Jeff, Lou was in for me and Bob just left. Okay. You know what, actually though, I can because I reviewed this. So these are my revisions. So let me just scroll down for the revisions. Might have been a type, okay. Is Chris Dorr, is his business called Rockaville?
That's all I can get out of what he
So, but look at the files and see what,
I don't think his name is on anything.
well, he's the one who's in front of us now for the approvals. So if the application was
Mike
submitted.
Morgan, because it's Pilates, isn't it?
Yeah, so just, it is, so just. I think it might be one. Yeah, I just don't know.
But I think so.
If you'd take a look at that. I just made an update to Torgerson, the name. Yep. Some,
Guesses, I don't know how to spell everybody's name.
oh, you left Kevin's name out. And his last name is like Schmizimic. So I highlighted this in the next set of minutes. His name is there. So you have
Probably
his
got it
name,
from-
you just left it out on this
I
one.
probably got it from, that's for Orange and Rockland?
Yes.
I probably got it from Angela after I did the minutes and forgot to go back into it.
So you could add it there. I just highlighted that. I added absences, and that's it. So with this, I'll make a motion that we approve the June 12th, 2025 minutes as amended and as will be amended. May I have a motion or a second?
Second.
Noreen? Aye.
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 Okay, June 12th. All right, what's the next one? June 17th, I looked at. Lou wasn't here, and you probably didn't review this.
July 15th?
July 15th. I think we would do have. Yep, we're good. So we should always say who Lou is in for. So for this meeting, make sure Lou is identified as being the alternate for Pat Shea, okay? So I added that. Is that how you spell his name? Is it Shlomi or Shloimi?
I took it off his email.
Yeah, I think
Does
that's.
that look
I think
right?
that's Shlomi.
Okay. I don't know, so I wanted to highlight it. So here you had Abril Araya, but then you had Arrays. So I don't know which one it was. So just pick one, whichever's correct, and update it. It was two different spellings.
Target?
That was Tarjay. No, that was Home Depot.
Oh,
Home Depot. Last two were good minutes. All right, that's it. So I'll make a motion that we approve the July 15th, 2025 minutes. May I have a second?
Second.
Noreen? Aye.
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 With that, the minutes are approved. So we got through two. Then you'll get us to August, and then hopefully, I think Dylan will, supposed to be back
says I'll
here.
be at the next meeting.
Okay. So with that, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions, any nays? Motion carries. Thank you all. Have a great evening.